Welcome to Cigar Church, where our passion for cigars and our love for Jesus come together. And we are sitting in a new spot for us. I mean, it's not even a cigar lounge. This is what's cool today. We are sitting in a place called the Eleanor. And if you know, you know. The Eleanor is a very exclusive? Should we say exclusive or should we say private? I mean, we're building it up to be a lot more. Exclusive. It's a private, exclusive hideaway. Our man John Hunsucker, good friend of the show, is allowing us to film at his place called the Eleanor. And it's just a private spot at his office that he goes to smoke cigars and spend time with friends. And at the heart of it, that's what we love about Cigar Church and the things we get to do with the cigar industry is places like this room. It's all about fellowship. It's all about friendship. It's all about connecting with other people. Specifically over the cigar, he does a lot of whiskey events and stuff here too. But I just want to say right off the start, John, we appreciate it, brother.
Thank you very much.
Giving us a spot to film this morning. Kind of short notice, but this is cool, man. We appreciate it. Now you may notice something. We've got a new friend over here. We've got a giraffe. We couldn't get the whole giraffe in the video. We're trying to decide on. I think John's got a name for the giraffe. We'll have to have him put that in there. But I think it's Jeffrey from Toys R Us. You know, after Toys R Us, you know, went bankrupt. He grew up and he came and started working for John Hunsucker as a lawyer. So that's Jeffrey the giraffe up there. At least that's what we're going to call him today. So how you guys doing today?
Good. I'm ready to smoke a cigar.
Ready to smoke a cigar. We haven't lit up yet.
Nope.
Today, we're gonna tell you, before we go into what we're smoking, it's important that we tell you what our theme is for today. Today we are going to address probably one of the most divisive things in the cigar world. The Cigar Aficionado Top 25. So as you're viewing this, it came out about a month and a half probably before you saw this. If you're watching it, you know, when we first aired the episode, it just came out for us a couple weeks ago, and there's some surprises. There's some surprises. Yeah. That's a good way to put it. I was going to say sketchy, but there's some controversial picks. Even number one on there. So, are we all smoking something off the list?
I'm not.
I am.
I did not have any of the 25 in my humidor. Didn't have time to go grab something. So
did that kind of hurt though? Like.
You know,
is it Cigar Aficionado snubbing you as Cigar Church?
No, it doesn't hurt at all.
CTO over here?
I slept just fine last night.
All right. So let's get these suckers cut and lit, and then we'll talk about what we're smoking here. I'm using the table cutter here. I'm going to do a V cut on this bad boy. Keep my finger out of it. There we go.
Why do you say that?
Why do I say that? Well, let me tell you.
What happened that you would say that?
When I was working at Stag downtown OKC a while back, we had a number of these table cutters, and guys would, after a few drinks, they would put their cigar in there and their pinky would get caught in that last one, and when they cranked it, they would take some meat out of that. And so for years, I used to make fun of guys doing that. And just the other day, it's healed up. I don't even have the scab on there anymore. Just the other day, I had one of my good cutters, the blade cutter that I use. You've seen me use it on the show a couple of times.
While you're chatting,
I reached across the table to cut a cigar and caught the tip of my thumb and took off a big chunk of meat off the end of my thumb about a month ago, and that smarted quite a bit. So I'm a little gun shy every time I cut a cigar.
Will you ever do it again?
Cut my finger off? Yeah, I hope not. Did you learn a lesson? I did learn a really good lesson.
Suckers.
You know what I find funny? The lounge that we're members of, they just got a floor model.
Oh yeah.
And they had to put a sign above it telling people not to stick their fingers in it.
Yeah.
It blows my mind.
It's crazy what you have to put signs up for these days, right? Hey, thanks for letting me have my lighter back and not been waiting. As I go ahead and light this.
Yeah, that works.
Did you not put any gas in it?
It's got gas in it.
Let's start with you, Dan. What are you smoking today?
I'm smoking I'm not smoking anything. I'm smoking the Cincillo Limitada 2023. I believe we've done this on the show before. But I was trying to, since I didn't bring a top 25, I wanted to get a little uppity or something. I don't know.
That was one of the ones we had at the Cigar Church experience. That was in the gift bag.
Yes, it was.
Yep.
It's a good stick. It's a good cigar. I enjoy it. I don't smoke it very often, but
it's a little bit on the pricier side for a cigar, and so from the Fuente family.
Yep.
So very good, very good. What do you got, Steve?
I have a Plasencia Cosecha 151. It was number 17 on the cigar
It was.
aficionado list.
It was.
And I looked up Cigar Snob's top 25 list, and it was on there as number 15. So I figured I got one that kind of hits both.
You done brought it up. You done brought it
What did I
up.
bring up?
Cigar aficionados,
Well, that's-
top 25 versus Cigar Snob 25. There's something there we're going to talk about in just a second. That's a really important thing, and one of the controversial parts of Cigar Aficionado's top 25, or any top 25, I guess. I am smoking. Imagine this: Don Carlos, Eye of the Bull. It made number 9 on the list. I'm bummed about that, because I think it should have been a lot higher on the list. It is the smallest cigar that I smoke. I mean, it's just a short little bullet cigar, very small cigar, 3.5 inches. And so I want to make a joke right there, but I'm going to leave that. Well, this is Cigar Church. I'm going to leave that joke out. But it's completely Dominican Republic, and with a Cameroon wrapper. Just traditional, amazing Don Carlos signature cigar. Just wonderful, wonderful cigar. When I first bought a couple of these, I thought, golly, that's a lot of money for a really tiny cigar. But it is some of the best tobacco I've ever had, man. It's a great cigar. It deserves being on the list.
What I left out was this is all Honduran, everything about it. So,
Well, the Plasencia factory, I mean, they put out some of the best tobacco in the world. Wonderful, wonderful place. All right, guys. So, Cigar Aficionado top 25 the list is out. We're not going to run down the list and tell you all 25, but what are some of the standouts that you guys saw on the list that you're surprised by, not surprised by, stuff that's typically on the list?
well, before you attack it, one of my current favorite cigars is on the list, and it happens to be number 1. But I'm not going to say it's deserving to be there. I think it's a very good cigar. But what I don't understand, what they use to make the list. What are their guidelines? What's the word I'm looking for?
What's the criteria?
Criteria they're looking
list?
Yeah.
It's been a minute since I've looked up the exact criteria, but what they've got is a handful of their staff members there at Cigar Aficionado. They all go through and smoke a ton of cigars and rate them, kind of like what we've rated on our show before, and then they take those averages, and the highest average they put in number 1. And so, I mean, let's just throw it out there. Number 1 on that list is my father's The Judge.
Woo! Yeah.
Which, if I remember correctly, which one of you hated The Judge?
At one time, it was me.
Yeah.
And now I love it.
And the first time I had the Judge, I did not like it either. In fact, I didn't smoke another of my father's cigar for a while.
Because of that,
Because of that.
Yeah.
It just didn't appeal to me. Now, since then, since my palate's, developed and everything else.
We like to say matured.
I have gotten to where I actually enjoy it. A few of my father's cigars now.
Go ahead.
Number 3 on the list is one of my. I love EP
Yes,
Carrillo.
I saw that. That's EP.
But I'm not stupid enough to say that they maybe belong in the top. But
So here's my question.
Enjoy it.
I love that EP Carrillo, and I think it was the Encore, right? That made the list. But how in the world, and maybe if somebody from Cigar Aficionado sees this, I know we're a small channel, but if one of you guys see this and would respond to this, how in the world did the EP Carrillo, which is a fine cigar, the Encore, love that cigar, how did it rank higher than the number 4 cigar, the Padron 1926 number 6? That is, I'm not a Padron guy. I am a Fuente guy. I love Padron. Yep. I don't smoke a lot of Padrones, but that is one of the best cigars on the planet.
It's a good cigar.
And a mainline cigar, the Encore, beat it? I don't know.
That's why I want to know the criteria.
Yeah.
Because if I do my own list and I put price as a point,
so
Encore is a lot cheaper than
it is.
Padron.
And that needs to be factored in, I guess. But here's here's the controversial part of the Cigar Aficionado top 25.
There's no Opus X.
No, well, there's no Opus X. That sucks.
I don't
which
understand
surprises me.
There is one
there's
in
a part
there
against
is
and all
one in
that.
the cigar snobs.
But no, here's the controversial part. There's a lot of people that say that that there's money involved. That if you look at just thumb through a Cigar Aficionado magazine, it always seems like the guys who are getting the full page spread for advertising, the 2-page spread for advertising, are the ones getting ranked higher. Now, guys, I know there's business involved. I know that when guys are throwing tens of thousands of dollars at you for advertising, you got to pay that back in some way. And I don't know if it's true. I hope it's not true. I hope you guys at Cigar Aficionado have more integrity than that. And I'm not trying to call you out, but if that's the case, man,
So-
I mean, that's upsetting.
I'm going to say this, and I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit, because
You're about done with that cigar
the
already.
other side of the bull's just about out. The other side of that, though, is the cigars that are going for the full page ads and the money that's going in there are from big companies, are advertising cigars that are validly good.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's one of those that
They are, yeah.
you know, it's the other side of that, because it's
Yeah.
easy to look and say, oh, well, my father, you know.
Well, they've got 15 ads in this.
Yeah, but my father makes good cigars.
Yeah,
and
they do.
They're a popular brand. The Judge is a popular cigar.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things that, could it be a little money on the side? I don't know. But the other side of that is it could be just because it's a good cigar. I think, and we've talked about this before, and I don't mean to skip the gun, but my question is, how does the Judge rank when it's been around for years? Why is it Cigar of the Year 2024? That's the part that I don't know.
Yeah, the Judge has been on the market for quite a while now.
Yeah.
And on the drive over here, we're just gonna throw it. We're gonna give you a little behind the scenes. On the drive over here, we were talking about this list, and we were talking about how just kind of having some pre-conversation to what we're talking about right now. And one of the things that we talked about was every year the crop of tobacco is a little bit different. As hard as you try to get the crop exactly the same year after year, to have that consistency in your product year after year, there's going to be drier years, there's going to be wetter years, there's going to be years with more sun, there's going to be years with better soil content, and these companies do a phenomenal job keeping that the same. But you guys know this at home. You've picked up a cigar that you've loved for years, and then all of a sudden it tastes completely different, and you wonder why. Well, it's because the tobacco there was something a little different about the growing season for that tobacco, and maybe that's where the Judge excelled this year over previous years. One of my favorite cigars right now is the Black Label Trading Company Intergalactic. Wonderful cigar. Had the first year of it, which was last year, I think, or 2 years ago, one of the absolute best cigars I've ever smoked. I bought boxes of those things. And then this last run is a great cigar, but it's nowhere near what that first run was, because they had to change a little bit of the formula because of the growing season of the tobacco. So maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's why the Judge this year was better than the Judge last year. Or maybe it was advertising dollars. I don't know. Not making any... I feel like I'm accusing you guys. I'm trying not to. I'm just voicing some concerns that the cigar community has had, and we hope that there's integrity in this list, because we go to this list on a regular basis to see what to smoke. So
I'm also going to say, I actually subscribe to Cigar Aficionado, and I do look at it every time it comes in. The first place I actually go is probably where a lot of subscribers go, is to those last pages where they're rating cigars.
They're not paying money, are they?
I don't know. Sorry, he's interrupting you over here. But yeah, I mean, that's number 22 is an interesting one. As I was going through this list, number 22 is the only one I haven't had. I've smoked everything on this list over the years except for number 22, and that's the one-off black and tan Robusto. I think I'm gonna have to get my hands on it just so I know that I got it. It's Aganorsa leaf. It's Nicaraguan, so you're gonna like that. You know what? I've seen it. I know where to get this. We can go get that at ZT.
I figured.
I've seen it over at ZT. So we're gonna go check that out. But tell us your thoughts on the Cigar Aficionado Top 25.
Since you've had them all, is there anything that I know you don't agree with the list, and I understand it. Is there anything on there you said you just absolutely hate, or there's no way?
I'm not a fan of that Brick House number 10. I love J.C. Newman products, and there's an association with J.C. Newman and Fuente. They're not the same company as some people assume, but there's a relationship there. They do the Julius Caesar, which I think would have been a great cigar in place of this one. But yeah, that's the only one on the list. I mean, other than that, the one that I haven't had that I'm going, okay, I don't know how that made the list.
That Oliva belongs.
That Oliva Series V Milanio is.
I think it belongs in the top 10.
That belongs there. That belongs there. That for years was one of my absolute favorite cigars. I kind of burned myself out on it. The Partagas, it's a good cigar. I'm not going to beat it up for being on the list.
Yeah,
what was it at number 5? I think it probably should have been 15. Somewhere, a little bit lower on the list. The Rocky Patel Conviction, great cigar. Had one of those last night, actually. So yeah, it's a good list. It really is.
The one for me was number 2, actually, and I've never actually had that specific cigar. But that is in the same family as one of my dailies, which is the Monte Cristo Nicaraguan series.
Yep.
I do want to try that one.
Yeah, and it's been.
You're not a fan of Monte Cristo.
I'm not a big fan of Monte Cristo.
I love the Nicaraguan series.
There's 3 or 4 of them. The Nicaraguan's great. If you're into lighter cigars, their white label, I can't remember what it's called, right off the top of my head, is a great cigar. That Cafe, no, that's the Macanudo that I'm thinking of there. But yeah, that's kind of surprising that it's that high up on the list. But here's what I like about a list like this, and let's get down to brass tacks on this. If you are a new cigar smoker and you are looking for a good variety, trying to find something, you don't know what you walk into a cigar lounge, you walk into the humidor and you are lost. If you will look up this list and have that with you, it's going to point you in the right direction. You are going to find, if you smoke anything on this list, you're not going to be disappointed. And that's what I like about a list like this, or Cigar Snob, or any of the rest of them, Half Wheel and all the other guys that rate cigars. Find you a source like that and take it in with you, and you're not going to be disappointed.
We need to do a Cigar Church Top 25 list starting in 2025. We started rating cigars. We have a few of them on the website.
2025 Top 25. Look at you, man.
We're going to do that this year.
Yeah.
So we will come out with our own list. But I wanted to say this.
It might have to be a battle.
It might be a battle royale to see.
The top 25, and maybe we'll do like each one's top.
Yeah.
Like everyone, like Clay's number 1, Steve's number 1.
Because I'm going to tell you, Dan, I am not going to agree to your number 1.
Oh, you don't think
that Gurkha Ghost is not number 1? I'm sorry.
You know what? I bet you we can agree on this. But what I wanted to say was, I agree with you with the top 25. But also, if you have if you can get an issue of the Cigar Aficionado magazine, every issue in the back, they rate cigars and they have a listing, and they're actually broken down by strong, medium, light. I can't
Vitola
exactly
too.
The different Vitolas.
And so, that may also help, to look at it and say, I don't want to go heavy, I don't want to go so strong. Well, looking more in the Connecticut, the lighter run, and there's some solid cigars.
There's some really good ones in there.
I've gotten several good ones out of this list.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have any idea what Cigar Snob's number 1 cigar
I didn't
is?
look. I didn't look at it at all. My guess, knowing Cigar Snob, I bet it's a Padron.
No.
What do we got?
Hoya.
Oh, really? Really? Which one? Which Hoya?
Cinco de Cinco.
Oh, that's a that's a great one. That's a Drew Estate. Yeah, that's a wonderful cigar.
That is I've had that one.
I don't know that I'd made it number 1 either, though.
And my father come in number 2.
The Judge?
No.
Really?
No, which one?
No.
La Opulencia?
You'll never guess it, I don't think. Fonseca by my father edition MX.
Really?
MSRP $11.
Dude, okay. Cigar Snob, we're gonna have to do an episode on your top 25.
Yep.
That's a completely different list. See, and that's the thing I love about cigars. And this is what we're going to find out when the 3 of us do our list, right?
Very subjective.
It is completely subjective. And you can sit there and complain all day long about which one's number 1, which one, and all. But
the bottom line is there was a lot of great cigars out
There's
there.
a lot of great cigars. But here's the point why we want to talk about this today. there needs to be, anytime you have something like this, there needs to be integrity in what you do.
Yeah.
And here's what I will say about Cigar Snob, or Cigar Aficionado and Cigar Snob. For years, I mean decades, Cigar Aficionado has been the go-to publication. Cigar Snob is challenging that and making a great run at it too. A wonderful publication as well. And there's others. But when you are out there as a publication, there has to be integrity in what you do. And we believe there is in Cigar Aficionado. As much as we're giving them a little bit of grief today, wonderful magazine, wonderful thing where you can go and learn about this thing we love called cigars. But what happens when there's a lack of integrity in something more important than just a magazine about cigars? We're going to look at Romans chapter 2 today. You want to read that out of your? No. He's got a misprint in his Bible. We're dealing with it. We're not going to throw anybody.
It's worth money.
It's a misprint, man. That's a rare one-off. And so when he was thumbing to it, there's some stuff missing in his Bible that we've got to get fixed. But we're going to look at Romans chapter 2, verses 1 through 5. And this is a really interesting text. I absolutely love this text as we're having this conversation today. It says this, therefore you have no excuse, O man, every one of you who judges. For in passing judgment on another, you condemn yourself. Because you, the judge,
number one,
practice the very same things. We know that the judgment of God rightly falls on those who practice such things. Do you suppose, O man, you who judge those who practice such things and yet do them for yourself, that you will escape the judgment of God? Or do you presume on the riches of his kindness and forbearance and patience, not knowing that God's kindness is meant to lead you to repentance? And I love that statement. But because of your hard and impenitent, I'm stumbling on some words today. That's going to be a great outtake right there, ain't it?
Yeah, not impotent.
And not impotent. Yeah. Thanks. Now I got that in my head again. Impenitent heart. You are storing up wrath for yourself on the day of wrath when God's righteous judgment will be revealed. Here's what he's talking about. He's saying, look, this is specifically addressed to us as followers of Christ. He's saying, look, don't you know when you judge that the measure that you're judging by, you need to apply to yourself first. You know, we can look at Jesus' teaching about the speck in your brother's eye and the plank. We've talked about that on one of our episodes. How important it is to deal with what's going on in your life before you judge somebody else in their life. And when we sit down and we talk about Cigar Aficionado Top 25, we can be critical all we want, and that's fine in that context. But what happens when we sit up here as Cigar Church and we put ourselves out there as believers in Jesus, and let's just say one episode we started pointing our finger at somebody for something that they did wrong, or a group of people or whatever, we better have in our lives that thing figured out. You know, if you've got a good friend and you're calling them out on sexual immorality, or you're calling them out on bad behavior, you're calling them out on drunkenness or whatever, you better not be a drunk. You better not be sleeping around with your wife. You know, those types of things, because it's important for us to have integrity in what we do. Because as he says here, don't you realize that when you do that, you're presuming on God's goodness and his righteousness and his forgiveness, and you too are going to stand before the judge one day. Mm-hmm. And that judge has the power to either condemn or to raise up.
Right.
And so let's talk about this, guys. What are your thoughts on this idea of this shared judgment, if you will? This our judgment of others is connected to how God judges us.
It's, I know for me, I mean, my wife and I actually had this conversation last night. Not this specific one, but we were talking about judging.
Y'all were judging each other?
Yeah, exactly. We were just in there judging. That's what we do. It's a thing. Now, the issue with judging people is that we're judging based on our conviction, how we interpret, how we believe. And the problem with that is we don't have everything right.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
there are things that we do need to sometimes go to our brother and say, you're in error, there's a problem here. But sometimes you get people, and I've known several in my life, who forsake the fellowship. They're the Lone Rangers of the Christian world, if you will. in my experience, those happen to be the most judgmental people that I've known. And the problem with that is if you are reading by yourself constantly, you're all by yourself. There's nobody questioning your translation or interpretation. You become, it's really dangerous to get into a judgmental attitude.
Yeah.
Because if you judge, you're judging based on your lone idea of the scripture. That's scary.
Well, and a lot of those guys, the reason they're alone is because they've judged the fellowship of whatever church they were in, and probably hopped around from churches and going, oh, this one's wrong and this one's wrong, and then I'm just going to do it myself.
Right.
Yeah, that's a pretty tough place to be.
And with social media, that's what we live in right now. Everybody judges everybody.
Oh boy.
You can't put anything out there as comments.
Yeah.
Negative.
And we've had our fair share of those on the show. Yeah, absolutely.
We could probably do a whole episode on social media.
Yeah.
Just on how it's changed the church and
Oh
our
my gosh,
interaction.
and I mean that's what's led us to do this. And so, what I love, the one line in this that I absolutely love, that just, I mean, I come back to this time and time again, is verse 4, where it says, "Or do you presume on the riches of His kindness and forbearance and patience?" Which in and of itself is a big statement. Are you presuming that when you judge others, that God's going to not judge you, that His forgiveness is going to be there? And it's this presumption, and my mind goes back to the idea of debt. I was having a conversation last night with a friend. I'm a big believer in the Dave Ramsey model of not going into debt and staying away from debt. And I know, don't jump on my case. I know there's other models out there. That's just what works for me and my family. But one thing that he's always said, and others have said, is when you take on debt, you're presuming on the future. You're presuming a paycheck. You're presuming the ability to pay that debt back. And when we judge others, are we presuming on God that He's going to forgive us and not judge us? But the statement that comes after that, not knowing that God's kindness is meant to lead you to repentance. So when we presume on God, we're presuming on His kindness. And we're thinking that, His kindness is going to allow us to keep doing what we're doing. And no, He says the point of His kindness is to lead to repentance. But the problem is, I think a lot of Christians think, oh no, it's being judgmental, it's attacking, it's going on the offensive that will lead people back to Jesus. No, it's His kindness that does it. The problem is we presume on it too much, and it's almost like we use it for an excuse to keep doing what we shouldn't be doing. And so I think it's a beautiful statement in there.
I had a coworker yesterday come to me about the story that he was telling me about somebody encountered, a younger person that had an issue with his father. And I'm not going to give the whole story, but he ended up quitting his job. He worked for his father, and quit his job. And my friend wanted to know my thoughts about it. He took the son's side of it. He thought the father was in the wrong for the story, and he might very well be. But I was telling my friend that you don't know the circumstances. You don't know. You don't know how that child did to him. You don't know. There's always somebody else. There's always another side. Yes.
Yeah. And that's the problem when we presume, and when we start to judge, we don't understand what somebody's gone through. We don't know the struggle, the battle that's going on within them just to get through the day because of something going on in their life. And that's huge.
That's when you just go to prayer, and God knows. We don't try to fix it or judge somebody. Just pray that God will work it out for the good.
Yeah, and pray that He'll soften that heart. That's the next verse. But because of your hard and impotent, it's not the right word. But just because of your heart has been hardened, we tend to not love because we've hardened our heart towards each other, and that's where the judgment comes out of. And so, pay attention to what's going on around you with people, and give people the benefit of the doubt, and just know that by the same measure that you judge others, that you will be judged, and that's a great biblical truth and standard to live by. So, how are we doing on our cigars? Are we judging them fairly? Are we judging the list fairly?
I'm loving this one.
Well, since he's a really good cigar, always a good cigar.
It really is.
25 now. I'm advocating.
This one is very
fingers at.
It's very grassy, but in a good way. At first, I thought it was kind of turned off a little bit, but now it's started.
Let's lean into that a little bit. Those grassy notes. Where's that coming from? What is it? Just because I had a Rocky Patel one time, and this was a joke with me and Sammy and a couple guys at the lounge. It tasted like you just mowed the yard. And it turned me off to it, but
I think a lot of it's in the wrapper.
you think it's the wrapper? Okay.
Because even when I wetted it to light it or cut it,
You got
get
that
the grassy
right
nose
off the
and-
dry draw. Yeah. Is it mellowed out?
yes. It's,
Okay.
it's really potent at first. It's like a little bit turn off, but now it's mellowed out that it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, good, very good. This Eye of the Bull is almost over. That's a really short one, and it made me mad. And I'm a Fuente guy. I love Fuente, and it seems like the Opus X and the Don Carlos are the worst about it. But I went to pull the band off, and they just too much glue. Fuente's bad about that, and it damaged the wrapper on it. It's still burning pretty good and tasting great. So I'm not gonna judge it too harshly because of that. But yeah, it's a wonderful cigar, and
This was a beautiful cigar. I'd give it a
yeah.
high point just for the looks of it and the wrapper.
yeah. So yours should be on the list, according to you. Yours should be higher.
It's pretty good.
Mine should be number one. Don Carlos should be number one. That's my opinion all day long. And so anyway, here's our encouragement to you guys today. Whether it's about cigars, whether it's with family and friends, whatever, just be mindful of how you judge. Because Scripture is very plain that the way that we judge others, we'll be judged by that same measure. And we need to show the same kindness and love and forgiveness to others as Christ shows us, and not presume on His grace and not presume on His kindness. So, any closing thoughts, gentlemen?
Before we wrap this up, I want to, we did a review of the book from Matt Cross the other day. Great book.
Yep, Matt, you did a great job, buddy.
Thank you for your support of our channel. But I want to touch on that. He told us where he's from, with the Bristow, Tennessee, and you grew up really close to that area.
About an hour and a half, small town, near a small town. I was a country boy.
Was?
It's about an hour and a half east of Bristol in Virginia, called Galax, Virginia. So that's
Makes sense.
close. So if any of our viewers are there, comment below.
Man, you can't say that stuff when I'm drawing on my cigar. Golly, man. We got a new nickname for you, man.
What is it?
We're going from Nicky D to Hillbilly Dan. Hillbilly Dan over here. Nah, we're messing with you. That's cool. And Matt, once again, man, good book. We definitely were impressed with it. So keep it up. God's definitely giving you a gift. We love that you're using it. And as you said in the comments the other day, we definitely need to get together. Whether you come out here, we go out there, we meet somewhere in the middle. We've got to get together and smoke a cigar. Anything else before we close out, guys?
Wear your Braves hat.
Where are your Braves at? I mean, with the Yankees and this LA guy over here and my Astros, I mean, we're starting some really big competition here. I mean, there's no love between any of those four teams. So yeah, wear your Braves hat. We're going to give you grief about it. I am going to judge you over that. But yeah, absolutely.
So if you do like the channel, please subscribe. It's not a difficult thing to do. Just click the button. That helps us out greatly.
Absolutely.
Like the videos, share the videos, and make sure you tickle the bell to be notified when we drop new videos.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this too. Comment on the videos. We love the interaction. We've had some really good back and forth with a few people in the comments. The comment section actually really helps us with the algorithm more than anything else. And so when you interact with that, if you've got a really strong opinion on the top 25, wish something was on it, wish something wasn't on it, agree with it, disagree with it, whatever, make a comment below. I mean, shoot, do your top 25 and put it in the comments below.
I'd love to see it.
Yeah, we'd love to see it.
Got any prayer requests? Email us at contactcigarchurch@gmail.com or stevecigarchurch@gmail.com, or you can always put it in the comments.
Absolutely. And it's a new year, 2025. We hope it's a good one for you. I am going to say this. I'm not going to jump the gun and make the announcement, but we got some big stuff coming. This is a great year for Cigar Church.
That's close.
Probably in about a month from the airing of this, we'll be able to announce it, what we're working on right now. And so keep us in your prayers. We covet your prayers on this. We're making some really big decisions. I will say this. We plan on being at PCA, doing some media coverage of PCA in New Orleans this year in April. So hopefully you'll get to see some of the coverage of that event. We do have the Cigar Church experience coming back in the fall.
Yep.
We'll get you details out on that as soon as we lock down a couple of the things with location. But man, there's some, dude, I really want to talk about it. I really want to talk about it. There's some really exciting things coming. That's pretty awesome, man. And we look forward to sharing that with you as soon as we can. But unless there's anything else, guys,
Nope.
smoke a fine cigar to the glory of God. We will see you next week.